Another good one. Gonna net this one. All right, guys. Hell yeah. That's a 4-pounder. All right, guys, look at that one. I just gave the quarter of the way update. I think we still have a little bit of time, but that's a 4-pound male. Peeing about 2 foot of water on that float. You take that one. Heck yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. You guys know, if you watch my videos on a regular basis, how much I like finesse jigs. You know, whether it's something like this little Kitech casting jig or the tightrope jig right here. I talk about these baits a lot because they catch a ton of fish, but they also give you a great opportunity at catching a big fish, and they allow you to present your bait as a normal jig, but in a much more compact fashion. I've had a lot of success this year at Lake of the Ozarks, at Lake Eufaula, you know, even at Clark's Hill Lake. I've been throwing small finesse jigs quite a bit because I feel like they get the same quality bite, but they get a lot more bites. Especially if you live on a lake that's got spotted bass or smallmouth, it seems like they're much more willing to eat a compact jig than a large jig. But every time I do a video on them, I get a lot of questions from viewers regarding the trailers that I use. And the trailers are a big part of creating a productive, compact, finesse style jig. So I want to go over my favorite finesse jig trailers, because I think there are certain times and places where I really like to use one versus another. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I do want to share with you or remind you that I have done a bunch of lake breakdowns on lakes scattered throughout the country. Some specialize on smallmouth, some specialize on all bass species in those lakes. Check those out. They're at fishthemoment.com. We provide 40 waypoints for each lake based on a specific season. So if you're going to a new lake for the first time, or maybe taking a vacation somewhere, or just want a little help on your local lakes, check those out. Also, if you want to support the channel, guys, and you're looking to purchase tackle, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link. The little bit that I make from that comes right back to providing content, and it's a great way to support the channel. So let's dive right into this. You know, I've got a handful of jigs that I really like to use, and it really doesn't matter that much which jig that I'm using based on the trailer, but I do choose my trailers more geared towards watercolor as well as water, the species that are in the lakes that I'm fishing and the species that I'm targeting. So if I'm fishing a place like Lake of the Ozarks, where I just was, my jig of choice was this Kitech casting jig. It's the tungsten model. I've removed the weed guard, but I really, really like the little 3-inch Berkley Power Bait Pit Boss. It just seems like it gives the bait some good motion. It kind of does a really good job at mimicking both a bluegill as well as a crayfish. So that's one reason I really like this. It gives you a best of both worlds in terms of versatility in mimicking the specific forage species that the bass are feeding on. So the 3-inch Pit Boss is, for me, a very versatile trailer that I throw all over the place. It's one of the first ones that I reach for. Now, if I'm fishing in really cold water, that's generally clear water, at that point, I'm going to switch over to a small Zoom Super Chunk Junior. This is a great bait that I love to throw in clear water specifically, and a big portion of that is you don't really get any flappiness out of the trailer. It gives you the profile of a crayfish or even a bluegill, but you don't get some crazy movement. And when I'm fishing clear water, I don't really want a ton of movement because the fish can see my bait just fine. They don't need additional vibration to hone in on my bait. So when I go to places like Lake Mead, this is the trailer choice that I'm going with. And I have really good success with it. One of the other reasons I like that trailer in clear water is because in clear water, I generally am hopping my bait. And if I have bigger flappers, when the bait's falling back down, the bait suspends more because those flappers hold the bait up in the water. I actually want my bait to fall faster anytime I'm fishing in clear water and I'm trying to hop or stroke that jig. The next one that I really like, again, kind of goes based on species. So we talk about the tightrope firework jig, like this little guy right here, one of my favorites. Now, a lot of times I'm throwing this when I'm fishing clear water environments, and a lot of times it's smallmouth based. Smallmouth absolutely love this jig. It was designed for smallmouth in the Great Lakes. And a couple of trailers that I love for this are the Little Trooper, Max Scent Little Trooper. It gives the bait an extremely compact design. This is one of the best crawdad hatch style baits. So in my part of the world, in June, the end of June, we have thousands of little 1 to 1.5 inch crayfish that are one of the primary forage species. And this bait does a great job at mimicking it. And because the skirt is really short on these tightrope jigs, it just gives you that really small compact design that does a great job at mimicking the crayfish hatch that goes on. Because when that happens, the fishing can actually get really tough because the fish are so dialed in to all of these tiny, tiny little crayfish. So that's one time when I love to go with like the little trooper, the super trooper. If I'm fishing more in the Great Lakes, where a primary species is geared towards gobies for smallmouth, I'm pairing this little tightrope jig up with a little poor boy Erie Darter Jr. This is the little 3-inch size. It's an absolute deadly trailer on that little guy and does a phenomenal job at mimicking gobies. So it's one of those baits that I always have tied on when I'm fishing Great Lakes or smallmouth dominated waters, that the primary forage is gobies. And then lastly, we've talked about this too recently, you can't go wrong with one of your favorite Ned baits. This is just the little Z-Man Finesse TRD. It's an absolutely killer trailer on all of your finesse jigs. And one of the things I like about the TRD is it floats, so it keeps your jig in a little bit more of an upright presentation. So if you happen to be on a good Ned rig bite and you want to try to improve the size that you're catching, try putting this or your typical Ned rig bait on a finesse jig. It does a really good job at improving the quality of the fish that you're biting. But those are my main finesse jig trailers that I go with. Like I said, a lot of it depends on water clarity as well as species that I'm chasing, but do not overlook finesse jigs. They are becoming more and more valuable as our lakes become more and more pressured, and they're generating a lot of those big quality bites still. So check them out. If you haven't tried these trailers, I highly recommend all of them. I'll put links up in the back in the video description for you if you want to check those out. Otherwise, guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.